Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go again. We have another situation regarding Xbox's Game Pass, and it's a conversation that we have had multiple times on this channel in the past, and that has to do with whether or not Game Pass is actually good for the developers that their games utilize, right? Game Pass is a machine. It is a machine that needs to be constantly fed to the point where they're buying so many studios. Microsoft has so many studios that they have purchased under their belt just so they can utilize the games that get made by these studios and then put all of these games day one on Game Pass. Well, unfortunately, now it's only for Ultimate users, but still, they put these games on Game Pass day one. And then when these games go on Game Pass day one, you are sacrificing sales. You are clearly sacrificing purchase sales that could have gone to this game. And now we have a prime example of that from a major franchise, which is Call of Duty. Call of Duty reportedly recently, Microsoft has estimated that Game Pass has led to a $300 million loss in sales when it comes to Black Ops 6, with 82% of the copies sold being on the Game Pass list PlayStation 5. So 82% of the copies sold for Call of Duty was on PlayStation 5. And that is because Xbox users basically said, why the fuck would I buy this game when I could get it for free, essentially, on Game Pass? Now, clearly, Call of Duty being on Game Pass was a big deal. A lot of people said that this was going to be one of the few games that would actually lead to sales on Game Pass, right? This is a Game Pass driving machine, but that doesn't seem to be the case. When it comes to Game Pass, unfortunately, it seems as if it cannibalized Black Ops sales. Now, we're going to cover a multitude of different things in this video. We're going to cover the fact that Game Pass has been pitching this entire value nonsense, but they left out three key components. Number one being that they have removed the discounts that were available for Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, and they never once told you about it in their video where they're trying to tell you about the value. They also didn't tell you that the PC Game Pass was going to be raising in price as well. And it's funny because the video told you that every single tier was being upgraded, but they conveniently left up the PC tier because they knew they're not going to offer any extra value. If anything, they're taking away value, and they're trying to charge $5 more. It went from $11.99 to $16.99 or something along those lines. Not only that, apparently, according to Oh No, It's Alex, apparently Xbox is going to be blaming market conditions. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they were sending emails out regarding the PC Game Pass subscription price increase because, well, they rather send an email than tell you in a video. But apparently the PC Game Pass subscription price increase is being raised due to market conditions. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it says, thank you for being a subscriber of PC Game Pass. We are planning to update our prices to address changing market conditions. The price change allows us to continue to bring you more value and great games for the very best gaming experience. Starting November 4th of 2025, you will be charged $16.49 plus applicable taxes every recurrence period unless you cancel up to 2 days prior to your next scheduled payment date. You can manage your subscription, how you pay or cancel your subscription by visiting Microsoft account here. So it's going from $11.99 to $16.49, and there is not a single thing that you are going to gain as a PC Game Pass user by that increase in price. So they're literally just like, hey, market conditions, fuck you, give me money. That's essentially what they're doing here. Now let's go back to Call of Duty. So Call of Duty losing $300 million. Guys, if you were to take $70 and you would basically divide it into the $300 million, that is over 4.2 million sales that they lost out by utilizing Game Pass. 4.2 million sales is absolutely fucking disgusting when you think about how much money lost that is. Now, one thing I will notate for you guys watching is that is not all doom and gloom. Even though it lost 4.2 million sales, the question has to be asked, okay, well, Call of Duty is a heavily monetized video game. It is a game that has a bunch of microtransactions, battle passes, and all the like, right? So how many of those people that were playing the game now for free essentially started buying DLC, and will it be enough to make up that $300 million? I don't personally think so, although I do believe that Black Ops did make a lot of money with DLC, so I really don't know. If people will probably be more likely to buy DLC if they didn't have to pay an upfront fee of $70 in order to get into the game, right? So maybe that's their plan, maybe that's their strategy, but I do believe that this is a massive hit to the franchise of Call of Duty because nobody wants to see 4.2 million less sales, right? And granted, it might be a little bit less sales because, of course, most people buy the bigger editions. I'm just going based off the standard price, but it's still insane. So let's read into this and see exactly what's going on. So this came from Bloomberg. It's a Bloomberg report based on interviews with former Microsoft employees have offered more fuel for the speculation about the continued viability of Game Pass, including Microsoft's own alleged estimate for how much sales revenue Call of Duty Black Ops 6 lost by being on the subscription service. So one thing I will say is that, listen, man, Call of Duty and Microsoft as a whole, Microsoft has all the money in the world. Microsoft will subsidize Game Pass for as long as they possibly want to, right? So long as all of their, I guess, eggs are in the same basket. So long as that is the case, they will subsidize this thing until the end of time. And they have the money to do it. This is the richest company in the world, and they will continue to subsidize it, just like Amazon subsidizes Twitch on a daily basis. But it says, unlike Steam, which offers its own real-time metrics while also being monitored by third parties like SteamDB, Game Pass is a black box with only periodic updates from Microsoft or insider information like that obtained by Bloomberg to offer an impression of the service's health. Microsoft says that it is growing and popular, but Xbox has been on a steady drumbeat of mass layoffs and studio closures in recent years. And again, the public perception over Game Pass can be positive all it wants, but the truth is in the pudding, right? Microsoft is firing thousands of people. They fired over 14,000 people. It's absolutely insane. And this is the reason why so many developers are trying to fight to be unionized now, because they think that that's going to protect them from their failures. And it's not. If you're going to get fired, you're going to get fired. And you can try to be unionized all you want, but all you're going to do is just add a couple of steps before you get fired anyway. But it says, again, one of the employees speaking to Bloomberg cited that the $300 billion figure as an internal estimate. I've seen some skepticism about the figure and a comparison to how publishers count every pirate download of a game as a missed sale when prosecuting pirates or commentating publicly on piracy's impact, but I don't think that quite maps onto what's going on here. This is an internal estimate that was never meant to be public, and it casts a negative light on a flagship project at the company. The incentive when making this estimate was to be as accurate as possible. We don't know how Microsoft produced the figure, but it was presumably the result of a fairly sophisticated projection. Kotaku did some back-of-the-napkin math, showing that Game Pass would have required an influx of 15 million new Ultimate Tier subscribers from 1 month or 1.25 million over a whole year pre the price hike to make up the difference of Black Ops 6 lost sales. Game Pass's overall subscriber count was 34 million in 2024, a figure that Microsoft has not updated this year. And you got to kind of question why they haven't updated it this year. It's kind of curious. So what I will say is that, yes, you can think about it from the perspective of Game Pass subscribers being the only means to make up the money, but that's not true. Black Ops can make up their money in DLC that wouldn't have readily been available to someone else outside of the fact that whether or not they bought the game or not. You have to understand that this game is heavily monetized. This game has microtransactions through the roof. So even if they lost $300 million in sales, that could be made up from a year of DLC, depending on how much DLC was pushed. And we all know Black Ops pushed an insane amount of DLC. I'm looking at you, Nicki Minaj. I'm looking at you, Beavis and Butthead Skins. Like, they pushed an insane amount of DLC. So maybe they made most of their money back, or at least maybe they put themselves within a comfortable preset where they don't have to make too much money back on, sales or whatever the case may be. But I got to imagine that they clearly cannot be happy about this. They clearly cannot be happy with potentially losing over 4 million copies sold. I feel like that is a big hit, no matter who you are, no matter how rich you are. And I'm sure they're going to try to make this up by, again, the price increases to Xbox Game Pass, but that's only going to go so far. Now, keep in mind, they're also going to be losing subscribers by upping the price of Game Pass. Now, also, just to be fair, the pricing, the money that they're going to be losing by subscribers unsubscribing is going to be made up from the people who stick around and pay the $30, which is going to be enough people that I think is going to make up that particular loss. So whether or not that increase in price makes up the loss for Call of Duty, I really don't know. But I will say, I feel like Call of Duty is definitely a driving force into why they're upping the price on top of, everything else for that matter. They are relying on Game Pass. They are trying to make Game Pass the end all be all, and they will do anything possible to make it happen. But there's a kaleidoscope variety of pricing tiers and subscription durations between those two extremes, and this is all just to match the revenue Microsoft theoretically could have had selling the game normally, when the publisher would presumably like to see its flagship gaming endeavor result in stronger revenue than the old model. But despite all of that, IGN reported at the time of Black Ops 6 release that it set a series sales record as well as a record for new Game Pass subscriptions on a single day. As Bloomberg points out, however, the sales record was with the 82% of full price sales of Black Ops 6 happening on PlayStation 5, despite this being Call of Duty's first release as a Microsoft-owned property. So again, guys, when it comes to Black Ops, I think that all of this like pony dance that they're doing with Black Ops, it's pretty clear that it's not as successful as it could have been, not even close. And they can try to make it seem nicer all they want. And they were probably hoping that Black Ops will be the game that will make people finally subscribe to Game Pass. And it did. There was a lot of people that did subscribe to Game Pass, but I don't think it's enough. This is the same company that thinks that Game Pass is going to be at 100 million subscribers by what, like 2030, I think was their estimation. They're not getting anywhere close right now. It's going to have to take something drastic for them to gain another 65 plus million subscribers within just 5 years. I don't know what they're going to do, but it seems like they're desperate to figure it out. So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, with Game Pass as a whole, people are clearly very pissed about all of this. And not on top of that, the amount of lies that they've been, doing by lying by omission is unacceptable. Not mentioning the loss of subscription discounts for DLC, not mentioning the fact that PC Game Pass is going up in price, even though there is no added value, right? All of the things they chose to leave out from their video presentation talking about value is going to put some pretty bad taste in people's mouths. So you guys let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about Xbox Game Pass and Call of Duty losing supposedly $300 million in sales revenue? Let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, consider hitting that like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.